Yeah, we got some good stuff. We got some guys who are hard to rent something out of. You know, it's like this Al guy.
Yeah, Yelly?
No, Al.
Haywood?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, well, it's a paycheck. It's like, come on, Al, let's get something a little more better than that. Okay, now we're just gonna have a discussion. You want to ignore the camera? Just never look at the camera. It's like Medusa. You'll turn into something.
Stone.
So I'm going to ask questions, and then you're going to answer these questions. You're going to try to incorporate what I ask into your answer, because nobody's ever going to hear me talk. Nobody's going to hear me ask a question. So if I say, what is your favorite color, you have to say, my favorite color is red. It's the only way people understand it, because they'll never hear my question. So we'll just talk and gradually talk, and we'll include some things here and there. So why don't you tell me, first of all, about when you were first hired at Wilson Tool, and what some of those early years were like.
Well, when I was first hired there, it was sort of a fluke. I was just, passing time. Ken asked me to, why don't you stop here and spend a few hours here each day, and we'll work something out. He says, I need a little help now, but and that's how I started. I just stayed, never left.
What was the old shop like? What was it like working in the old shop?
Well, the old shop, as I recall now, the old shop, we had our drafting and engineering department, the executive suites, and the compressor room were all one. And of course, and the place, it wasn't very large. We had, let's see now, we had gym mats rolled up in one corner that were stored from the place upstairs. We just had a very small place. But when things got, they got slow or something, we did the same thing we do here. We washed all the windows, all 5 of them, just so you can tell. And instead of 500 tons of air conditioning, we had 2. Did the same job, cool the plant. Size is the biggest thing that's happened to us. Our size is immense compared to those days.
Was a lot of people are telling stories about how the old plant was practically falling apart, the floors and the elevators and the bathrooms. And what were some of the old stories that you remember about the plant and about what happened around the plant in those days?
One of the things I remember is when we moved upstairs and into one of the areas where the floor loading was so poor, we had to put steel plates down under every machine to spread out the load. And then, of course, when we put the large cone downstairs, we had to cut a hole in the ceiling to jack the motor up into, so there was space for it. I mean, the ceilings were 10 foot tall or 9 foot tall, and we had quite a few problems with the building. I mean, it was old and rickety, very old building, but we managed.
What about seeing the company grow over all those years? What was it like being part of the company as you saw it grow from that tiny little company in the shop to growing to where it is now? What was it like being a part of that?
Well, the things I remember is that when we started the growth, and we grew very slowly at first. We were just a small job shop, and then we started taking on this punch line, and all of a sudden, there was an awful lot of growth in a short time. Pretty soon we outgrew our facilities, and we took over more and more space in the building. And it was exciting because there was action all the time, something to do. You're always thinking ahead, what are we going to do next, and this sort of thing. And all of a sudden, we had outgrown our facilities there, and Ken was out looking for a place for us, and came upon this building here, the original building over on the other side over there. Well, it was just it was 5 bays and a little metal shed out in back, and from there we weren't here a couple of years and had to start building again, and building. So it's always.
What was it like when you first moved out here? You had I think you said 5 bays, and so you moved out here, and then what was it like having to grow with this space? Because this space was growing quite a bit.
Well, this space out here is growing, from the time we moved in, an old mud hole for a parking lot and stuff like that. It just exploded, you know. It's been hard to keep up with, actually, the growth, you know, because there's so many things going on all the time with each little growth of, you know, space-wise. Every new space is a different problem.
What about, you had mentioned, I know a while ago, there's some machines, you know, like that latest building that you built, you had to actually build a building around the machine practically because it's such a big machine. What have been some of the challenges in the building itself?
Well, you know, like one of our first big machines was the H-15 downstairs, and what we had to do was to say, well, we had to cut up the floor and put all, you know, a solid slab that's 30 inches thick. It tapers out to 18. And now it's in the newest building over there, the big Giddings and Lewis mill. The footings are 5 foot deep, solid concrete and rebar. Time to edit. Oh my God.
What, in trying to think back about the old days, do you have any stories about the old days, about funny things that happened in the old shop or things like that?
Yeah, there's been a lot of things, a lot of funny things have happened, a lot of laughing has gone on. But I can't think of any one item that sticks out, you know.
What about some of the stuff that you did beyond the plant itself? Some of the things outside, you mentioned some golfing and things like that. You were telling me once about you had made this putter for Kenny.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was one of, I don't remember what the occasion was, but it was a birthday or a Christmas or something that we got to make something special for the old man, so we were just started in the punch business. So I whipped him up a putter made out of a punch head. And that's still around today someplace. I don't know exactly where it is, but I'm sure it's still around. That was kind of fun. Some of the things we get a kick out of, you know. Other than that, you know, when you're sitting there, you just don't think of all the things. Like the engineering department, that amounted to a little conversation to and from work. We talked about everything driving back and forth to work together, Ken and I. So.
Why don't you just mention that a little bit? What was the early days like in thinking of product ideas and thinking of the products? Because I know, you know, you've got some early drafting, some of the early drafting that you had.
In the early days, you know, we talked. I rode back and forth to work with Ken. We lived right across the street, you know, and we rode together, and we'd hash over all the little projects we had going, and usually at the end of a day or two, we had a solution and had some direction. We had decided what we were going to do. But it was fun days because you got to talk. You know, you had plenty of time to talk over everything afterwards. You know, and it wasn't. It's pretty rushed now when it comes right down to it. These decisions, you know, they can't be made right now, and there's more people have to be involved in decisions, and so you know, doing everything quick and efficient seems to, you know, that has spread out, and it becomes many more people's responsibility. You know, like when one man could say, "Let's do it," and we did it, was different. You know. It was exciting, though. I mean, it was an exciting time.
What about some of what has made the company different or special from the point of view? You know, not many companies are going to see the kind of growth that this company's seen over the years. Why? What's been special about this company that has allowed it to grow?
Well, I think one of the biggest thing that I see that has helped us grow so much is our quality, and that from early on, we stressed quality. We did some pretty fancy things and pretty intricate type things, and did a good job and kept everything. Quality was it. We didn't have a lot of problems with our quality, and it's that's the only thing that really sells. People wanted quality. Anybody can buy a piece of junk. I think that's one of the biggest things. And of course, our leader, Ken Wilson, he was there and had the drive and to keep it moving.
Right. Well, that sounds good. Do you have anything else that you remember of
No.
old days or old stories?
I probably will when I leave here. I'll remember all kinds of crap. We're sitting having lunch someplace. Yeah. You know how that goes.
Why don't we just go over the first part again and just tell me real quick about the early days, about when you were first hired and how that went.
Well, I stopped and I had lunch with Ken a couple of times when just after he opened the business, and I was out scouting around looking for a new position in life, one day he happened to mention, he says, well, why don't you put in a couple of weeks here? He says, I've got some extra work for you. He says, you can, until you find what you want to do. And I've been here ever since. I liked it. I left the machine trade a long time prior because I didn't think I liked it, but I found out I did. I enjoyed it. So I just stayed.
Alrighty. Well, I think we got some good stuff.